Delhi's heart was ripped open yesterday when that powerful blast took place at the Red Fort metro station. 12 people lost their lives, dozens were injured, and as we heard reports of what had happened, it became obvious that it was not an accident. The National Investigative Agency has taken over the investigation right now, and the story that they are uncovering stretches from Delhi into Faridabad right up to Kashmir, involving doctors, explosives, and a car that has changed hands at least 4 times. Here is the entire story of what we know right now, that what happened at Red Fort, who was behind it, what does it say about India's security system, and our likely responses before us. Now, before I move forward, reminder to you to share and subscribe. Now, it was just about 6:50 p.m. yesterday when the traffic near the Red Fort metro station slowed down. A white Hyundai i10 rolled up to the signal, and seconds later it exploded. Some of these details will be upsetting to some of our viewers. An eyewitness said that there were people on the road, there were body parts on the road, some people were bleeding, some were not moving at all. There was blood everywhere. This was Ram Pratap, who was a roadside eatery owner who was closing up for the day when this happened. Terrified people running in every direction. Police say that the explosion was so powerful, according to one report, one man's body was flung through the air and they found it later in a tree. Streetlights were ripped apart, windows were shattered, right up till the Chandni Chowk market. I want to paint this picture for those of you who are not familiar with the city of Delhi. The Chandni Chowk market is an extremely busy market. Normally, women and children, especially this time of the year, which is wedding season, the Delhi Fort, the Red Fort area as well, receives a lot of visitors, and the metro station in between these two spaces where the explosion occurred would have obviously meant to target a lot of innocent civilians. The Delhi police immediately sealed up the area. The metro station was shut, barricades went up, and by nightfall, the number of people who had died moved up to 12. Now, the question that everybody was asking yesterday around this time was, is this a terror attack? Now, this is what we know so far. The Delhi police have registered an FIR under the UAPA, which is India's toughest anti-terror law, along with the Explosives Act under the BNS. Now, the FIR that Red Fort Chowki in charge has written clearly states this was a bomb blast. So it's not a gas cylinder that went off, or it was not a CNG cylinder in a car that went off. This was a bomb blast. Now, Home Minister Amit Shah chaired an emergency meeting yesterday, and the case was handed over to the National Investigating Agency, which is India's top counter-terror body. So there are two clues here that the government is treating this as a terror attack. The teams include the NIA, Delhi Police, Intelligence Bureau, sweeping operations starting from Delhi right up to Kashmir. Within 24 hours, 4 people have been detained in raids across Pulwama and Srinagar. Now, there are some forensic reports that are coming in from the blast site. It says there was a mixture of ammonium nitrate, fuel oil, and detonators that were used. It was a combination that was used apparently previously in terror attacks. CCTV visuals show a masked man driving the car. Officials say the vehicle has been parked in a nearby lot for nearly 3 hours before it exploded, which means it's suggesting a deliberate wait or possibly a timed detonation. There was also some buzz about the fact that there was no crater created and there was no shrapnel. So normally when there is a terror attack via a bomb blast, the device is also packed with nails and shrapnel and metal pieces that fly and hit people, causing maximum damage. That shrapnel was not there, and also it didn't cause a crater, and that gives them clues as to what sort of explosives were used. Investigators are now scanning hundreds of CCTV clips from Red Fort complex right up till Paharganj to trace the movement of that vehicle before the blast. Now, this is what investigators have placed together from CCTV visuals, right? Apparently, the Hyundai i20 began its journey from Faridabad at 7:30 in the morning, so 7:30 a.m. It crossed the Badarpur toll at 8:13, officially entering Delhi. It was next seen at the Okla industrial area at 8:20. Later, it was parked for almost 3 hours in a parking lot close to the Red Fort complex. So there were explosives parked near the Red Fort complex for 3 hours, and at close to 6:30. So 6:22 in the evening, it left the parking lot, and 6:52 it exploded. So the police think that maybe they were waiting to time this for a certain reason. They've discovered that the driver recently renewed the car's pollution certificate, suggesting that he didn't want to be stopped unnecessarily or didn't want to get into trouble or pop up on the radar for any reason. Now, who was the driver of this car? The man believed to be driving the car was Dr. Umar Nabi, a 32-year-old doctor from Pulwama, Jammu and Kashmir, who was teaching at the Al Falah University in Faridabad. Now, taking a pause here, in Faridabad, linked to this university, there was a massive seizure of explosive just hours before that Delhi blast. Now, Dr. Umar Nabi is believed to have died in the explosion. His DNA is currently being matched with the remains found on the site and also with his mother back in Pulwama in Kashmir. Now, according to the police, Umar may have carried out a suicide attack, fearing that his associates were arrested who were also doctors, and he was worried that he would get arrested as well. The police are now calling this a white-collar terror module because these were all doctors. Now, apparently Umar was not acting alone. The police have also arrested two people in Kashmir. Tariq Ahmed Malik, who is a 44-year-old security safety guard, sort of responsible for safety at a bank in Jammu and Kashmir. He is one of three suspects who have been detained from Pulwama district. Amir Rashid and Umar Rashid also have been detained and they've been taken in for questioning. Sources say that these men were in touch with Umar Nabi days before the blast and they may have helped facilitate that attack. So, next question that pops up is, what is this white terror module? Now, the term white terror module comes from a series of arrests that were made in Haryana earlier this week. The police have recovered 2,900 kilograms of explosives, weapons and bomb-making materials in two rooms that were belonging to or were rented by Dr. Muzammil Gheni, another Kashmiri doctor who was working in the same university. 8 people were arrested, including Dr. Gheni and one Dr. Shaheen Saeed, a woman who was apparently recruiting for the women's wing of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. Investigators say this entire group was working with the Jaish-e-Mohammed and they were planning cross-border terror activities, including Dr. Shaheen Saeed, who is a Lucknow-based pathologist who's accused of heading the women's recruitment wing for Jaish-e-Mohammed. The wing was reportedly formed in Pakistan last month. And is headed by Sadia Azhar, who is the sister of Masood Azhar. Now, investigative agencies believe that the Faridabad cell was India's extension of that network and recruiting educated professionals, quietly stockpiling explosives under the radar. This is all the information we have so far. Now, there's a lot of other information floating around. Not all of it is confirmed, and so we're not going to use that information in this video. But from the information we have so far, a couple of questions always pop up, right? Every time we hear security has now been stepped up, all of our cities were put on high alert. The question that has to be asked is, why wasn't security in place already? How is it that 2,900 kilograms of explosives were stockpiled 45 kilometers away from Delhi, our capital city? And how many more such caches of explosives exist? If a car was filled with ammonium nitrate and it can cross several checkpoints and tolls without inspection, then are the borders really that secure? If multiple terror suspects are already under watch in Faridabad and Kashmir, why wasn't the network intercepted before Delhi was hit? And more crucially, no official right now has called this a terror attack, even though the NIA is investigating under UAPA. There is a bigger question though. If Jaish-e-Mohammed is actually involved, and it's becoming more and more clear that it is then important to take it for granted that Jaish-e-Mohammed operates from Pakistan. It has long been shielded by networks in Pakistan. Any direct link to this group implies cross-border terror sponsorship. Remember the Prime Minister's statement during Operation Sindoor, where he said Operation Sindoor is an ongoing operation, that any act of terror from Pakistan will be viewed as an act of war from India, which means that this is now in a very serious situation, from India's point of view, that if this is an attack planned and directed from Pakistani soil, India will respond or may respond politically, diplomatically, and possibly also militarily. Diplomatically, we've seen this happen before. New Delhi will respond, it will brief its allies, it will invoke state responsibility under international law, it will attempt to isolate Pakistan in the UN and the Financial Task Force. The Financial Action Task Force is a global body that tracks terror funding. Militarily, the options include precision strikes, standoff operations, covert disruptions, various things that we've seen India use as options in the past. On a more obvious note, India could target networks, finances, communication channels through cyber intelligence and financial tools. And domestically, there needs to be a review, perhaps also about ammonium nitrate regulations, vehicle checks, and urban security grids. There's going to be obviously a lot happening right now in Delhi behind those important closed doors, and we're going to be watching very closely to see what options India picks out in terms of a response as this investigation plays out. And we've seen this happen in the past as well. The investigation needs to be rock solid in order to gain adequate evidence that this was in fact terror that came from across the border. Once India has that evidence, India will move swiftly against whoever was responsible. We've had statements from the Prime Minister and the Home Minister that they are going to they're going to go after whoever was behind this, and they're going to demand accountability. So we're going to actually wait and watch to see what sort of responses are going to come from India. But for now, this is the information that we have at this point. As we're able to gather more verified information, we'll bring it to you. Leave me a comment in the comment section on how you feel right now in your city, knowing that security has been stepped up and we're keeping a closer eye on movement of everybody in India.